battle starts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ship Views with me, Carburetor. Today we are going to be looking at a potentially damage-breaking game that I had in the Hipper. We are talking about 256,000 damage in the Hipper. I am not aware of another game. I did look online, and there's a few that are a little bit higher, but I don't know the stories behind those. I don't know what servers they were on. I don't know if it was in like a co-op battle or randoms. I don't know. But from what I've seen, I've done a little bit of research outside of WoW's numbers, and the best I can find is 236,000 damage. I crushed it by over 20,000 damage. Holy cow. But anyway, as you can see, we're already deep into the action. Let me cover real quick how I have the ship built. I do know it's also been quite a while since I've posted. I'm sorry, my life's been on a roller coaster. I don't want to get too much into it. I might make a dedicated video about it at some point. But for this video, we're just going to focus on the gameplay right quick. I'm running Main Armaments Mod 1. I'm running Engine Room Protection, Aiming Systems Modification, Propulsion Modification 1, and Concealment. The only changes I would make to this is I would consider swapping out Prop Mod for steering gears, and I would consider swapping out Concealment System, maybe for steering gears if you want to keep Prop Mod. But the main reason why I kept Concealment is because there's a plus 5% dispersion of enemy shell coming at you, so I definitely wanted to keep that. Moving into Commander skills, I'm running, and all of these should be posting up if Editor Carburetor remembers to put them up on screen. I'm running Grease the Gears, Gun Feeder. Gun Feeder is very important, especially as you can see in battle. I am making broadside shots at the Graf Spee using those 8-inch armor-piercing rounds. That is some serious damage. Last Stance, that even if my rudders or my gears get knocked out, I can still remain moving. Demolition Expert, gotta bump up that RNG to get the fire chance. Priority Target, I like to know when people are shooting at me. Adrenaline Rush, Survivability Expert, all pretty common. But then here's where it gets maybe a little greedy. I'm running Top Grade Gunner, which gets me an 8% reload buff if somebody's within my standard detectability range. I decided not to take Concealment Modification for this, or Concealment Expert in my Commander skills for this, to try and bloom out my my radius just a little bit. And then, of course, Outnumbered, which you'll see activated throughout the battle. It gets you a little speed boost and gets you a little dispersion boost. Nice little traits to have, especially when you're in the throes of battle. Got my first assist and destruction there, and as you can see, we're already up to 58,000 damage, 57,000, but close enough for government work. But holy cow, has it been a second since I've made you guys a video. I know I need to make you guys more videos. Hopefully we can get into more regularly scheduled content. But as you can see, we got the first enemy knocked out. Unfortunately, we are already down a couple of ships, but we are clawing them back, as you can see. The very first blood was a dev strike, and it was done right away, which is kind of like, man, I don't like seeing that right away. But, you know, hopefully we can claw this back. Hint, we can't. It always seems to be the games where you lose tremendously, where you get that amazing damage and amazing XP. But as we're going in here, you can see I open up on the Amagi. Going to try and get some fires lit on him. I'm turning away. I am kind of dangerous right here, showing broadside. Hopefully that won't stay for long. I do believe the Amagi has those 410 millimeter shells, which, holy cow, those things will rip through you in a heartbeat. So you definitely want to stay tucked away here a little bit. I've got one fire ticking away. Going to try and get another one lit. There's a second one lit. Of course, keeping up with the 8-inch high explosive raining in. All right, he just put the fires out. We're going to let them rest for a little bit. I am dark here, waiting to get around the island, trying to stay hidden, and now opening up again. Definitely with a ship like the Hipper, where it doesn't have a heal, you kind of want to conserve your health a little bit more than normal. When that's something that a lot of tier 8 ships I feel need to be updated on. The Hipper is an old ship. I think this ship came out in like 2016, 2017, maybe even before that. This is an old ship in World of Warships. I still remember when they first built this. Now, a little reason about why I'm playing the Hipper. Grinding out Research Bureau points, for the longest time, I stuck with the Haragumo. And the Haragumo is technically the superior line to run up. But the problem is that I really wasn't finding it that enjoyable. The Akazuki and the Kitakaze are two very good ships. I'm not trying to poo-poo on them. But I find myself being a little bit more of an active player, and the torp boat role is not really one that I can fulfill well. And before Tier 8, before the Akazuki, there we got another fire lit on the Amagi. Really, the only... they aren't really gunships. They are torp boats for all intents and purposes. So I found myself just kind of going, you know what? I would rather... All right, we got some incoming shells coming in from the Amagi here. Sorry, I see we see what that 410 millimeter shells were doing. We were angled pretty well there, and we still took one hell of a clobbering. Like, holy cow! But I found myself with the Haragumo just getting bored. I really wasn't enjoying it. And believe it or not, before I started running up the Haragumo all the time, I would actually run up the American cruiser line, the Des Moines line. I really enjoyed that line. I really do. But I was looking for, okay, what are maybe some other alternatives? Because I've used other lines to grind up for in the past. And I ended up just choosing to give this a go because I really like every step of the line for the German line. This is a good spot right here in battle where maybe the steering gears modification would have kept me from being stuck on this embankment for a little while. You can see I kind of get beached there for a little bit. Thankfully, they did introduce that little rocking maneuver where if you get stuck, it'll kind of rock you off the rocks, so you don't get permanently stuck. I have been permanently beached in this game. It's a pain in the butt to work through. But trying to put some distance between me and the Amagi right now. Going to open up on this Fuso a little bit while the Amagi is behind the island and can't focus me. It's all about doing damage in this game. And the more damage you do, the better off you're going to be for both you and your team. So it's important to always keep your guns firing and try and keep yourself in the battle. But no, so I've been running this up because the Hindenburg lineup because I really like the Königsberg. In my opinion, the Königsberg is one of the best Tier 5 cruisers in game. Really like the Nuremberg. The Nuremberg, when played correctly, is an amazing ship. It is very fun. You can see we have our outnumbered proc going on in the bottom there, along with the I'm blanking on the name now. Got the outnumbered and the top grade gunner going off in the bottom there. But the Nuremberg is really good. I really like the York. Having 8-inch guns at Tier 7 is really good. The Hipper is really good too because it takes those 8-inch guns that you have on the York and just gets you a little bit better reload. The Prince Eugen, which this is the Hipper and the Prince Eugen are on the same hull, are two of my favorite ships. I really like both of them. The Prince Eugen, I believe, was actually my very first premium ship that I got for free. I believe I got it in a super container. Might be wrong on that. It's been a long time, but I love the Prince Eugen. I love the Hipper. The only thing I would say is that the Hipper needs a little bit of love with a heel. I don't know what you would do with the Eugen then to kind of differentiate it because the Eugen takes a little bit worse reload and you get a heal. So it's kind of like, okay, you can't do as much DPM, but you have more survivability. Maybe the Eugen could get a little bit of a DPM buff and they both have a heal. I don't know. Or maybe the Eugen hits a little bit harder with AP. It could get the Elbing love. Both ships kind of need a little bit of love, but apparently not too much love if I'm pulling off a 256,000 damage game at 2026. Holy cow. So pushing in right now on this island, I have no idea which way the Amagi's going to go. I'm assuming he's going to go to my port. So I'm kind of aiming a little bit more to the starboard side of the island. This is going to be a misplay on my part. So I'm trying to figure out where he's going. Even those bombers coming in don't really tell me where he is, and then boom, there he is. And 410 millimeter guns this close, ooh, that is scary, because these shells will just they will wrap right through my armor and knock me out pretty much instantly. Turning away here, let the torps loose. He's going to turn in. I assume he was going to stay wide to try and stay out of range, but apparently he's a little bit better player than I assumed he'd be. Turns in, avoids my torps. I have the AP loaded. Probably should have switched to HE at this point, but there he is. He returns fire. Even look at how angled I was, and that was on my belt, and still his shots rip right through my armor. Holy cow, that hurt. But let more torps out. Let's see if they hit. I continue to rack him with AP now that he's a little bit wider out. Definitely want to be hitting him with AP, but my health is evaporating fast. Get that fire out sooner rather than later. Managed to nail him with one torp, and boom, there we go. High caliber right away. So now we have to deal with this Fuso. Turning my attention to the Fuso, I'm trying to get behind this island, trying to get this island in between he and me. Let out some HE, try and set him on fire. His shells come in. I turn in to avoid them. Thankfully, they splash in the water and do no damage to me, but do give me a little bit of pot damage, so that's good. All right, now is my chance to try and get behind this island. More shells are coming in. All right, and they all miss. Good. Continue to turn in. Gotta get this island in between he and me, because even with, I think the Fuso only has 14-inch shells. Those 14-inch shells, especially at this close range, will still rack through my armor. That Japanese AP is nothing to sniff at. That is good stuff. But as we push in a little bit closer here, you can see my top, is that my top grade gunner, or what skill is that again? My outnumbered buff gets me a little bit of a speed boost to pull in now. I don't know how, but somehow it wound up just being me and the Fume. And the Fume has played a great game. He did an amazing game this time around. Hats off to him. My compliments to him. He played an excellent game. The enemy just played a better game. There were a few people on my team that could have played a little bit better. I'll make a little bit of fun with them at the end of the match. And that's not to say that, oh, well, our loss is solely to blame on them. It's not. They could have done better, and we still could have lost. It really just comes down to which side plays better. And at least with this side, at least it wasn't a blowout. This was a pretty hard-fought battle. But already we're at 188,000 damage. I'll let those torps out the Fuso. He slowed down, turned in, and avoided them. But a little bit more on the Hipper. I was actually very surprised. I have the Hydro running to keep the Fuso spotted, and the Fume's going to rack him with some HE. I'm going to try and back up here and try and put some shells into his bow. I'm assuming at this point he's going to come charging out. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm definitely keeping the torps up. The torps loaded so I can see what he's going to do. One thing that's also really nice about this ship is the torps reload relatively fast. They're a 68-second reload base, and especially with Adrenaline Rush, that reload goes down fast. But using that outnumbered skill, I'm going to power around this island now and try and get onto the back side of him and try and get around him and get some torps into his aft section sooner rather than later. But one thing that surprised me is that the Hipper doesn't really have that great of numbers on WOWs. On WOWs numbers, it's only got like a 49% win rate. It's only got like 50,000 average damage. It really does not... It's not a good ship by the numbers, but I've always had good luck with it. It can tank relatively well. It can definitely dish out the pain. It's got that high penetrating HE shells, which allow you to just bully battleships at this tier. That HE can pen through. Looking it up right now, 51 millimeters of armor, and that's at tier 8, when most battleships are still 26 to 32 millimeters of armor. Get in behind the Fuso. Kind of a misplay here with me firing AP. I probably should have had the HE loaded, but we're going to dump 2 torps into him, get another flooding, and another ship at the bottom. Now this Cataluna, he's got me dead to rights. There's no way I should survive this, but somehow I do. I return salvo on him, switch over to the AP. I have an aching suspicion I'm going to get his broadside here shortly. But as I power around this island, realistically, if I had heal, this might be a good spot for me to sit back and to kind of play a little bit more conservatively and wait for my heal to come back online and try and recover some health. But at this point, I've got no heal. And you may even notice it's not an arms race, so I'm not even getting arms race buffs. I get 256,000 damage without arms race. That's impressive. All right, I'm detected, I'm spotted, but where am I spotted from? No idea. You see shells come flying over the island. That's not the Cataluna, and that's not the New Mexico. Who is it? It can only be the Eniten, which I believe is the Tier 8 Pinata battle cruiser for the Germans. It's basically a... no, it isn't. I don't even know. I thought it was that, but that's the Wassien. So I don't remember what the Eniten is. That might be that new Dutch cruiser or that new Pan-Euro cruiser. But anyway, get that Cataluna knocked out, and we almost had a dev strike there. 4 citadels and 1 salvo. That's fantastic. We're at 246,000 damage. Gonna power some shells onto the New Mexico here. I should have been paying attention to where those shells were coming over the island, because that was a hint that the Eniten was powering down on me and coming down on me. Unfortunately, I don't know from where. Well, there he pops up. Puts a salvo on me. Thankfully, not much damage occurs. Switch over to AP and start racking his broadside, but at this point, I'm pretty much done. He's got me dead to rights. Only 621 HP left. I'm getting good hits. It's just not going to be enough to recover. And realistically, what I should have done here is I almost should have slammed on the brakes, because he's going to be aiming in front of me. Unfortunately, I didn't. That might have kept me in the fight a little while longer, but realistically, I was dead. 256,838 damage with 3 kills, 1 assist, 4 sits, 3 incapacitations, 13 fires, 2 flooding, 4 spotted, 271 shell hits, and 3 torp hits. Look at that silver leaf right there. I got a silver leaf, which basically means I am in the top 90% of all people who play this ship. That's not in this game, that's all ship. The 1 says that I was in the top 10%, in the better than 90% of the players in this battle alone, and it was a defeat. But as you can see there, we have Withered, we have Confederate, and we have High Caliber. Moving on to the next screen, you can see 1,819 base XP on a loss. This probably would have been a 3,300 base XP base XP when, man, I'm flubbing my words all of a sudden right at the end. And if you look at the Fume Nebuloso there, got 1,143 base XP and a loss. That's nothing to sniff at. But if you look down at the Pensacola, he could have played a little bit better game. Again, not trying to blame him, not trying to say that it's because of him that we lost. He definitely could have played a little better game, and we may have done a little bit better, but you know what? It is what it is. If you can't take a joke, don't play World of Warships. Moving on to the damage screen, 93,000 damage done to the Amagi, 51,000 damage done to the Fuso, 35,000 damage done to the Cataluna, 35,000 damage done to the Tirpitz, 15,000 damage done to the Hood. Holy cow, that is amazing. And as you can see, 271,000 damage done, 164 HE shell hits for 81,000 damage, 107,000 for 89,000 damage on AP. That's why you don't sniff AP on this. You definitely want to consider switching to it. 25,000 damage on the Torps. They are just German Torps. They don't hit that hard. We aren't talking about Shimikazes here. We're talking about the German Torps. But if you look at that, 61,000 damage done in floodings. Holy cow. That is impressive. 3 warships destroyed, 5 warships damaged, 1.761 million pot damage. Holy cow. That is incredible. especially when you consider no heal. That's all damage that I juked that should have hit me that didn't. Moving on to the last page, you can see this is why we run premium. You can see why premium is so much more useful to get. I already covered the free XP and the ship XP. You can see I made 550,000 credits there, but also 11,000 commander XP, and I am just running green boosters. I'm not running blue or red, but imagine how good this would have been even on blue boosters on a loss. Holy cow. But anyway, I know it's been a while. Hopefully I'll upload some more videos for you guys. This is my entry for the world damage record for the Hipper. If there is a higher damage battle, I'd love to see it. Just because there's a result on WoW's numbers, I don't necessarily trust those, but I'm willing to entertain them. Anyway, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.